Decked out with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, and power at every seat. And bigger overhead bins to fit everyone's carry-on. Or giant foam fingers. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United Airlines. Proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
The lights, the crowd, the moment. When the Warriors take the floor, greatness follows. At Cache Creek Casino Resort, every moment shines. Feel the rush as the reels spin. Breathe in our serene spa. Savor each bite in our award-winning steakhouse. And recharge in the comfort of our luxurious hotel. Cache Creek Casino Resort, proud partner of your Golden State Warriors. Please play responsibly.
Before you begin your road trip, ask yourself, do you really need 5 full suitcases? With the 2026 Kia Sportage X Pro's class-leading cargo space, you'll have room for what you need. Find out more at your local Kia dealer today. Keep the adventure going. Kia, movement that inspires.
Call 800-3334-KIA for details. Always drive safely and obey all traffic laws. Comparisons based on second row legroom and cargo space behind second row seats in the subcompact SUV class according to Kia segmentation as of October 2025.
The Curry pump fake, flyby, 3-ball, got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-WHO.
Don't you wish you were here?
This Odyssey Sports broadcast has been brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico.
The lights are out.
Curry gets it, the lights go out.
The game is over. And we're here to pick up the pieces. This is Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yes, it is. Welcome to Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. Warriors knock off the Grizzlies in Memphis, 133-112. It was a dominant Warrior win. They led by as many as 32 points, and they ultimately win again by that final score of 133-112. The Grizzlies not that interested in winning basketball games, so maybe you come out and you say, well, this is kind of what you had to do. The Warriors simply held serve. Well, I mean, okay, I hear you, but this is a Warriors team down Steph Curry, down Jimmy Butler, down Draymond Green, down DeAnthony Melton, down Kristaps Porzingis, and they led by as many as 32 points. They played offensively, specifically in the first half, almost a perfect half of basketball. There was maybe a few too many turnovers than you would like, but other than that, I mean, they scored 74 points in the first half. Their assist numbers were absolutely incredible. In the first half, they had 20 assists on 26 made field goals. They finished this game with 37 total assists on 49 field goals. The ball was moving. It was whipping around. They had a dominant performance offensively. And I mean, Memphis, just read off who Memphis started tonight. Ty Jerome, Jalen Wells, Javon Small, G.G. Jackson, Olivier Maxence Prosper. Not a who's who in terms of quality NBA players, and I don't mean that in any kind of offensive way towards those 5 players, but it's very clear to everyone around the NBA what this Memphis team is trying to do. Of course, they traded Desmond Bane in the offseason last summer. They got back 3 first-round picks, or might have even been 4 first-round picks for that. They traded Jaren Jackson Jr. Before the deadline. They got 3 first-round picks back for that. Ja Morant's basically been out for not quite the whole season, but the vast majority of the entire season. They have a lot of other injuries going on as well. So they have embraced the tank. We can put it that way. But still, if you're the Warriors, you have to come in and you have to take care of business. And it was not a given. Just like last night was not a given in New Orleans. I stand by what I said last night. New Orleans is not a tanking team. They're just not very good. This Memphis team, though, is a tanking team. But even with that, this is not a given. Remember when these two teams played, 2 weeks ago? That was February 9th. So, yeah, a little more than 2 weeks ago, a little bit before the All-Star break. The Warriors were down by 10 points late in that basketball game, game, and they somehow found a way to win by just one. It was not a given that the Warriors, who were more injured in this game than they were in that game, the last time these two teams played when they hosted Memphis here in San Francisco, by the way, not a given that this was going to be a win. You had to come out, you had to earn it, and the Warriors did. Final score, 133-112. They led by as many as 32 points. The Warriors had 9 players available in this game, 9 players suited up. It was the 5 starters, Moses Moody, Guy Santos, Al Horford, Will Richard, and Brandon Podziemski. And then you had 4 players available off the bench because Draymond, not available. D'Anthony Melton, not available. Kristaps, of course, here back in the Bay Area, did not make the trip with the team. I don't believe Steph Curry made the trip either. But your 4 guys off the bench were Gary Payton II, Pat Spencer, Quentin Post, and Malachi Leons, who we've seen play a couple of games here and there in some mop-up duty. He got minutes in every quarter in this game today, and all 9 of those players that played, which was, again, the Warriors' full available roster tonight, they all scored at least 9 points. Leons was the low scorer with 9, but everybody else was in double figures, led by Will Richard, who had 21 points. I thought he was everywhere in this game. He had so many big plays, steals, hustle plays, offensive rebounds, knocking balls away, diving on the floor for loose balls. He was everywhere in this one. 19 points for both Brandon Podziemski and GP2. There was a moment where Podziemski was flirting with a triple-double, finishes with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Kind of, not the most efficient day offensively. He was 6 for 14, but he did so many different things in this game as well. Drew a charge, was his normal, usual self on the boards, and without D'Anthony Melton, was one of the Warriors' go-to distributors and creators and initiators offensively. GP2 was awesome in this game as well. 8 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from downtown. What he did on off ball offensively, cutting baseline, backdoor cutting for layups and dunks. He was really good in this game. His usual good defense as well. You got 17 points from Guy Santos, and he did that on 7 shots. Guy did, by the way. I mean, Guy's just playing incredible basketball. He had 6 rough turnovers last night. Guy did, but bounced back with just 1 today, and those 17 points. He got 14 from Moses Moody, who was kind of just feeling like scoring in that range is a given now. He did have back-to-back games with 20-plus points. Didn't get back to that number tonight, but 14 points for Moses on just 7 shots. That was incredible efficiency. You got 12 points from both Pat Spencer and Quentin Post off the bench. Good to see Quentin Post get a couple of threes to go in this one. I also thought that Pat Spencer was in control for the majority of this game. One of the things that I was curious in when going into this basketball game without Steph, without Jimmy, obviously, and without Melton, who's still not quite ready to play in back-to-backs, without Melton, the Warriors were going to have to rely a little bit more on Pat Spencer to be an initiator. I mentioned Podziemski. Podziemski, one of the initiators. And the other one was likely going to be Pat Spencer. It turned out that was right, but there was a third one, and the initiator was Al Horford. The Warriors just threw the ball into Al Horford all the time, in the paint, at the post, at the elbow or elbow extended, just anywhere in that area. And it's not like they were asking him to back down and score every time. I mean, he only scored 10 points in this game on 10 shots. He wasn't terribly efficient, 4 for 10 from the field and 2 for 6 from downtown. But the number of possessions that began with the Warriors just posting up Al Horford and then running like a bunch of different back cuts and screen and cuts off of that was one of the Warriors' ways to get into the offense. And, man, the offense just was very nearly perfect in this game. It was really good in terms of moving the basketball. You felt like the Memphis defense was chasing almost on every single Warriors possession. The one negative was 16 turnovers, which is, kind of on the knife's edge of too many. Steve Kerr would probably say he'd take 13 or 14. 16 is where it gets to be a little too many. But they also forced 16 Memphis turnovers. And the crazy part, then this is absolutely absurd. I think I saw it come in on the YouTube chat. And by the way, if you want to join the conversation, there's a number of ways that you can do it. 888-957-9570 is the number to call. Guys, I think we have the phone lines blocked if you want to unlock those so we can get the phones start rolling in. The phone lines are open if you do want to weigh in. 888-957-9570. That is also the number to text. The Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. I see the 262, the 628, the 415 chiming in. The 628 says tonight was more like Warriors basketball, a balanced attack. You're absolutely right. The 262 says Will Richard is him, absolute stud. Well, Richard was very good in this game. You can also join the conversation on YouTube at youtube.com/957 the game. I see a Theodore. I see a no. I see a Estimated Eyes, South to West, SGA, Ernie. I see a Ernie. I see a Moco Coco and a bunch more. Apologies if I miss you, but keep the chats coming on YouTube. I don't remember who the commenter was on YouTube that I saw bring this up, but while the turnovers were even, 16 apiece, the points off turnovers were very much in the Warriors' favor. The Warriors scored 33 points off of 16 Memphis turnovers. The Grizzlies scored just 14 points off of 16 Warriors turnovers. That means the 16 times the Grizzlies turned the ball over, on average, the Warriors scored more than 2 points per possession following turnovers. You know how crazy that is? That is absolutely absurd. The Warriors had 16 possessions as the result of turnovers by the Grizzlies. They scored 33 points on those possessions. That is some of the most absurd efficiency in terms of points off of turnovers that I've seen in a really, really long time. So the Warriors were the beneficiary in that regard. They also were the beneficiary of points in the paint, and I think that's where this game kind of turned for the Warriors. They outscored the Grizzlies 58-44 in the paint. This is where I think the Warriors kind of dropped the ball last night in New Orleans. They were so bad the first half offensively in New Orleans. They scored just 39 points in that game because to me it felt like a refusal to do what the New Orleans defense is bad at defending, and it's going into the paint. They were shooting 3 after 3 after 3, and it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. They figured it out in the second half last night. They scored 40 points in the paint in the second half alone last night after just 18 in the first half. There was a more consistent effort to get into the paint early in this game. They finished, again, tonight with 58 points in the paint. And how about just the first quarter when they had 18 points in the paint? In the first quarter tonight, they had, again, just 18 points in the paint in the first quarter or in the first half last night. They had that same amount, 18 in just the first quarter tonight, points in the paint. And then once you establish an ability to score in the paint, you then can work inside out. And I think that was kind of the strategy for the Warriors because it ultimately turned out to be a pretty good shooting night as well. They go 53% from the field, 41% from downtown. They made 19 threes in this game, 19 for 46. That's pretty similar in terms of number of attempts from last night, but 8 more makes. So it's a higher quality look from downtown, and some of this also, I'm sure, is just, players making shots tonight after not making them last night, right? Like, let's see, you had GP2 made 3 tonight. He did not make that many the other night, and Quentin Post made a couple tonight as well. Pat Spencer made a couple tonight. So you have just guys making, a higher percentage of their looks, but I also think the process, given what the game called for, was a whole lot better in this one tonight as well. So I think the Warriors came out of the gate really strong. Remember, they were down by 12 points after the first quarter last night, 31-19, and they won all of the quarters from then on. They won the second quarter last night, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter, but that 12-point deficit from the first 12 minutes was too much to overcome. They got off to a good start, not a great start. They led by 3 after 1. Then they opened the second quarter on a really big run, ultimately built a pretty big lead going into the halftime break. And they used that to win this basketball game. Again, the final score, 133-112. So a really, really good team effort from the Warriors. Again, they only had 9 players suit up. This kind of reminded me a little bit. I remember like back in the late Don Nelson days, like Steph Curry's rookie season, like that far back, when there were some games where the Warriors late in the season were so injury depleted, and frankly, there were some times where they were probably not that interested in winning basketball games. But I'm talking about like pre any kind of Warriors success. Post, we believe, but pre Mark Jackson, when the Warriors kind of began to turn things around, where the Warriors would like suit up just 7 or 8 bodies. And you look at that bench at any point during a game, and there's just nobody sitting on the bench because all of the available players are in the game. And it kind of felt like that at times tonight. It felt like that a little bit last night in New Orleans as well. Whenever that's the case and you still find a way to win, it's pretty impressive. And they found a way to win big time against this Grizzlies team. They win 133-112, led by as many as 32 points. Garbage time favored Memphis. It wasn't even as close as the final score suggests, and the final score still shows a 21-point Warrior win. Impressive. 9 guys played. All 9 scored 9 or more points. The only Warrior that played that did not score in double figures was Malachi Leons, and he still had a pretty good game. 9 points. He had 8 boards as well. Had a nice pump fake flyby that led to a dunk in the fourth quarter. He did miss 2 free throws that would have made him the 9th double-digit scorer of the game for the Warriors. That's maybe the only bad thing I can think that happened in this one offensively for the Warriors. They ultimately win this one, though. Again, the final score, 133-112. All right. Let's go out to the phone lines, 888-957-9570. If you want to weigh in, that's the number to call. It is also the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. Again, 888-957-9570. Let's go to Chardol in Fremont, who wants to weigh in. What's up, Chardol? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Hey, Mark Grandy. I'm a big fan of you. I tune into 95.7 the game after every Warriors game as the Golden State Warriors dismantled the Memphis Grizzlies by a final score of 133-112. This was a great win. We got to keep this up. We got to get another win and get a winning streak going here. But it's great calling to Warriors Wrap Up, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, Chardol. Appreciate the call. And I know you used the word dismantled to describe last night's Pelicans win over the Warriors.
Yeah.
And I said I wouldn't use that word myself. I'm glad you ran it back, though, Chardol, because tonight I absolutely agree. The Warriors did dismantle this Grizzlies team tonight. Again, the final score, 133-112. The Dubs win. They led by as many as 32 points. It's hard to find that much to be frustrated by if you are the Warriors in this one. And I do think one thing that we have to talk about, and we're going to do, is let's just compare offense tonight to, say, last night, right? And let me get out my box score from last night so we can just dive into some of the numbers. And I think there's a conversation to be had based on who was available tonight, or who wasn't available tonight, and who was available and playing last night as well. So let's dive into some of these numbers. Focus first on the first half of these last 2 games, because the Warriors did kind of figure things out offensively in the second half last night. But in the first half tonight, the Warriors scored 74 points. Okay. In the first half last night, they scored 39 points. In the first half tonight, they shot 55% from the field. In the first half last night, they shot 30.6% from the field. In the first half tonight, 20 assists on 26 made field goals. In the first half last night, just 10 assists on their 15 made field goals. And last night, 13 turnovers in the first half. Tonight, 7 turnovers in the first half. That is a gigantic difference. Like, everything is almost double in terms of points scored, from 39 to 74. Your percentage jumps from 30% to 55% from the field. Your 3-point percent jumps from 23% to 48%, more than doubled. You doubled your assist totals on not quite double the made field goals, so your assist rate went up, and you split your turnovers in half. And look, the Grizzlies are not a good basketball team. I told you that they're more interested in losing basketball games. I think they would agree if you were to get an honest answer from them. I don't think the Pelicans are that way. The Pelicans don't own their first-round pick. So They don't have a vested interest in losing to improve their draft stock. They just happen to not be a very good basketball team, but I do think they are actively trying to win games. But neither team is very good. Some of it might be the opponent, but a lot of it is the Warriors and how they executed offensively. And let's look at some of the full game numbers. So the Warriors last night scored 109 points, tonight 133 points. Last night, 41% from the field. Tonight, 53% from the field. Last night, they made 11 threes, shot 24%. Tonight, they made 19 threes, shot 41%. They turned the ball over 5 fewer times. They forced basically the same number of turnovers, but were much more efficient in terms of turning those turnovers into points. They got into the paint, in fact, the same exact amount, but they was more balanced in the first half, and I think or in the game today, and I think the way in which it went today, where you do it a little bit more early in the game, you use that to create your three-point looks later in the game, is the general strategy that would work best versus teams like this, and specifically versus a team like the Pelicans last night that are not a good a defensive team in the paint. So I think the overall plan of attack for the Warriors in this game just made a whole lot more sense, and it shows in a lot of the numbers. Now, I do think what is worth discussing is what looks to be a little bit of a trend. A little bit of a trend that is showing for the Warriors. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that when Draymond does not play, the Warriors are one of the best teams in the NBA, or maybe the best offense in the NBA, but there is a trend that is developing when Draymond Green sits. Either he does not play down the stretch of basketball games because Steve Kerr decided not to close with him, or he's out for the entire game. The Warriors' offense looks and feels entirely different. Okay, let's just run through some of what has happened with Draymond on the floor and off the floor of late. Let's just think about the last 3 games, right? So Sunday versus Denver. And by the way, we're going to go to the phones again. If you want to weigh in, 888-957-9570. We're going to go to the phones in just a minute. 888-957-9570. Sunday versus Denver. Draymond does not play. The Warriors score 128 points, 76 in the first half, and they win. And I'm sitting there watching that game, and I know a part of it is that was Denver's 3rd game in 4 nights. That is certainly part of it. But the Warriors generally always look like the slower, the less athletic, the older basketball team. What happened on that night? The Warriors looked like the younger, faster, more athletic team, and they ran Denver out of the gym in that game. Besides a really bad third quarter, they dominated the other 3 quarters of that game. They score 128 points, and they win that one. Tuesday versus New Orleans, that's last night. Draymond plays. The Warriors scored just 109 points. They scored just 39 points in the first half. The offense incredibly bogged down. They were getting some good looks, but it wasn't by your good shooters, and you lose that basketball game to a team that you should beat. And then tonight versus Memphis, Draymond doesn't play. The Warriors, they end up scoring a lot of points, 133 points tonight. They shoot 53% from the field. They make 19 threes. And they dominate this game and win 133-112. Those are just the last 3 games. But it also goes further back than that. Just a few weeks ago, you remember the comeback win in Phoenix before the All-Star break? Draymond played in that game, but did not close down the stretch. And the Warriors, with Draymond on the bench, came back late and won that game in the final minute. How about the second to last game before the All-Star break? When they hosted this same Memphis team, right? They had a comeback win versus Memphis, just like that Phoenix game where Draymond did not close. Warriors were down by 10 with like 4 minutes left, and they closed on an 11-0 run while Draymond was on the bench, and Steve Kerr chose to not close with him. Honestly, it goes back even further than that, all the way into just before Christmas. Remember, December 20th at home, they beat, I believe, was that Memphis again on December 20th? Let me make sure I have that right. No, it was Phoenix. Phoenix on December 20th. Draymond got ejected in the first quarter of that game, and the Warriors beat a good Phoenix team without Draymond. Remember when he willingly left the bench and kind of took himself out of the game versus Orlando in the Warriors' very next game on December 22nd? It was a nip and tuck game at that point. Then once Draymond left the game and did not return back into the game, the Warriors dominated the rest of the way and beat Orlando by 23 points. He was ejected early versus Utah on January 3rd, and the Warriors dominated the second half and won that game as well. So, look, there is a larger sample that is growing with every game that Draymond either plays or does not play that I think shows the Warriors, at least offensively, work better and flow better while Draymond is not on the floor. And I think it only gets heightened while Steph is out. And that's why these last 3 games, these results seem very, very, very clearly to paint a picture that shows the Warriors' offense works better, it flows better, they're getting better looks, they work quicker, their assist rate is up, while Draymond Green is not on the floor. The last 3 games, they absolutely show that right now. More thoughts on that. I want to talk more about that, and we will. But I want to go back out to the phone lines as well at 888-957-9570 because Eric in Millbrae has been waiting patiently, and he wants to weigh in. What's up, Eric? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. What do you got?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, much better tonight. Coming off loss that they probably felt a team they should beat. Didn't know even more undermanned tonight. Didn't know how they would come out, and glad what I saw tonight. This was a true strength in numbers game. Everybody contributed. This is one of the most proficient games offensively all season, even with a healthy lineup. It was incredible basketball, as you mentioned. For the rookie, Richards, Pods, Moody, Horford, everybody, Santos, even the bench, GP2, Spencer. Man, it was just that was a thing of beauty to watch. Man, that was an offensive clinic they put out there, and I thought it would be a close game tonight. Because these Memphis, even though they're not trying to win, they're still battling and winning games they probably shouldn't. And so I'm glad that the proficiency from the Warriors was just perfect tonight. And that was a game ball all around to all the starters and bench. It was incredible. And as you mentioned, Draymond, to me, at this point in time, I think it's best for the team to have Draymond in a limited role as a 6th or 7th man. He's basically done at this point. He's a non-factor offensively. He give you at different points of stretches. He can give you some defense, but even that now has dropped off. So he's not good enough to dictate his role anymore. If you're not Curry on this team, you have no say in how many minutes or your role at this point in time. So I don't think Kerr should be worried about Draymond's ego. He's not good enough to act out anymore. I think he should be a 6th or 7th man and playing spots, maybe playing at times in close games if he's on his game. If not, pull him and keep him off the floor. As you mentioned, the numbers don't lie, and the eye test doesn't lie. He's just not good enough anymore, and they play better when he's off the court. So I think Kerr, enough with the loyalty to him. He's not good enough to me. Outside of Curry, you have no obligation to be loyal to anybody on this team. There's nobody outside of him at this point in time playing that is good. And I'm just hoping one final thing. They can get Porzingis back. They got a couple of days rest now against a tough Laker team who's struggling right now. So, they're licking their chops to try to get a win. So I'm going to be at that game. I'm hoping we can get Porzingis. I doubt we're going to get Curry back. So that's going to be a huge game there tonight against on Saturday night against a team that's really reeling as well, too. And so just hoping we can get a couple of guys back, and that'll be another game, and hopefully they can get a dub there, too. So game ball around tonight, and looking forward to Saturday night. The Chasers should be rocking. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the call, Eric. Always love hearing from you here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Yeah, game ball to everybody that played. 9 Warriors played. All 9 scored 9 or more. And one of them was Malachi Leon, so we don't know a ton about. Grew up with Quentin Post. They were playing basketball growing up, which is really cool. And Quentin Post was talking about it, I believe it was at halftime, about how cool it is to share the floor with his fellow Dutch countrymen. But really cool story there. Everyone that played had a positive impact. There was not a single Warrior that was negative on the plus minus tonight. The worst was GP2 and Malachi Leon's at a +3. Those were guys that were on the floor during garbage time, when garbage time was like a 10 points in favor of Memphis. So that was a big difference there. Over the course of the game, while it was actually competitive and in the air, almost everybody on the Warriors was like a +13 in the plus minus. This was a solid performance from just about everybody. And the Warriors ultimately use that to win this game 133-112. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. I got more to say about this offense and Draymond Green. I also think there's a conversation that we can have about the overall offensive attack and what is the best way to maximize Draymond Green's skill set, because I do think that there is part of that there. Like, we just got this text that came in from the 510 on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. The 510 writes, the disloyal fans that are Curry fans and not really Warrior fans that have this biased dedication to Steve Kerr but will throw Draymond Green under the bus is ridiculous. Look, 510, I'm going to address this after we take a call. I do think there is something to be said about the offensive plan, specifically while Draymond is on the floor without Steph Curry, that I think could use an adjustment. But specifically of late, the numbers don't lie. The Warriors' offense appears to be a whole lot smoother and better while Draymond Green is not playing. And it's not like this is just numbers that I'm throwing out against teams that are tanking. Like tonight is, a notch on that side of the ledger, but it's not the only one. How do you explain what happened against Denver? Are you just saying Denver was playing their third game in 4 nights and that's the only reason why the Warriors dominated that game other than the third quarter? Like, we can have a real and fair conversation about this. I was the first person to tell you I thought Draymond played good yesterday. I really did. I think he played well yesterday. Now, the overall offensive attack and the plan and the way to utilize Draymond, I don't think it was very smart yesterday. But given what Draymond's deficiencies are, and given that Al Horford did not play, and Porzingis did not play, and Steph did not play, and that seriously hinders your ability to space the floor, having Draymond on the court in major minutes in that situation makes it a lot more difficult. But Al Horford spaces everything out, and it kind of changes the geometry of the offense. So we're going to talk about that. First, though, back out to the phones because Matt in the city wants to weigh in. What's up, Matt? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. What do you got?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I just want to preface this by saying I am a huge Steve Kerr fan. I have a tremendous respect for him. But I think it's a disgrace that we are not in the 6th seed right now and that Phoenix is better than us. And a lot of that, I have to say, it's Steve Kerr and some of the lineups that he puts out there. Before I left work yesterday, me and the guys were saying, dude, if he starts Draymond tonight, we are going to lose. We're going to lose against this team. And sure enough, he started Draymond at center. And that is just not a winning combination. Now, had he put even if he had put for strategic minutes of the game, had he put in Post, Draymond, and Santos, that would have been we needed some size against this team, and that would have should have won that game yesterday. And a lot of it, I have to blame Steve Kerr for the decision to keep Draymond in for that much time. And like I said, it's not Draymond. This is what I expect was going to happen to Draymond at this stage of his career. But Kerr's got to manage that a lot better. And I got to put it on Steve Kerr. And again, I want to preface it by just restate that I'm a big Kerr fan. I love what he's done with his career. His story is amazing. But I think I wish he would just manage this team a little bit better. And I think it's a real shame that we're not in the we're not in that 6th seed at the moment. Phoenix we should be ahead of Phoenix.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Matt. So the Warriors are the 8th seed right now. In order to be the 6th, they'd have to jump both Phoenix, and then right now the Lakers are currently in the 6th. The Warriors are 4 games behind the Lakers, so that is a long way for the Warriors to go. I think that is unlikely that it's going to happen. The Warriors feel very, very entrenched into anywhere from 7 to 10, probably more likely 7 to 9, and probably just 7 or 8, and we can narrow it down. They're probably just going to be the 8th seed. They're 2 games behind the Suns for the 7th spot. The Blazers and the Clippers are both 3 games behind the Warriors for that 8th spot. We'll talk more about the standings, and we'll take a look at some of the scores from around the league later tonight before we get on out of here. But the Warriors feel pretty safely entrenched. In some part of the play-in. They definitely would like to be in the top half of the play-in, 7 or 8, which means you get 2 bites at the apple. You can lose your first play-in game, and then you have a chance at a second one still for the opportunity to go to the playoffs. However, if you do that and you win that second game, you take on OKC or whoever is the 1 seed. I would imagine likely OKC, although the Spurs are only 2 games behind them now, and they've won 10 games in a row, so you never know. Even if San Antonio doesn't lose again the rest of the season, I think I'd rather play them than OKC in the postseason if I'm the Warriors. That's a conversation that we can have a month from now when it is a whole lot closer. But tonight for the Warriors was game number 59. So that means there's 23 games left? There's a lot of time to do the math of where do you want to be? Would you want to win this game? Do you want to be the 7? Do you want to? We'll figure all that out. The reality is it's going to be harder for them to get up to the 6. Did they drop a handful of games early in the season that made that their current reality what it currently is? Yes, absolutely. Could they have been maybe 34-25 right now, which would put them only a game behind the Lakers? Yes, they absolutely could be that, but they're not. And their reality is they're probably, accurately where they should be at this stage. We'll see if they can hold on to that 8 seed and maybe even climb to the 7. The Suns are reeling right now, 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost a couple of games in a row. Dylan Brooks down with an injury for at least a month, if not more. And Devin Booker's kind of been in and out with some injuries as well. So we'll see how that all plays out. That is a conversation that we will continue to have as the season progresses. I do think on the Draymond conversation, for example, let's discuss what happens when Draymond is on the floor. And in the context of the Warriors offense, because the Warriors offense right now is ball movement. We're going to whip it around. We're going to have somebody create an advantage. I think what Guy Santos said with Willard and Dibbs on, I believe it was on Monday on this station it was on Monday before this back-to-back in New Orleans and in Memphis. What Guy Santos said, specifically when you're playing without Steph, but really without Steph and Jimmy, those creators, those initiators offensively, how do you work offensively when you don't have those guys? And what Guy Santos said was, you need somebody, and it can be anybody, you just need somebody to knock the first domino over. And I would imagine that's the phrase that Steve Kerr and Terry Stotts and the coaching staff use when, in practice and trying to kind of game plan how they want the offense to work. Somebody has to knock the first domino over. And the point is, you're trying to have a domino effect on your offense and their defense. And the way you knock the first domino over is by creating an advantage somewhere. So say it's Podziemski getting past his man off the dribble. Say Podziemski drives past Ty Jerome tonight, right? Okay, so what happens when Podziemski drives past Ty Jerome, which is what we're calling knocking the first domino over? Some other Grizzlies defender has to come over and help Ty Jerome. And say Pods is driving from the right wing towards the right block. Whoever is guarding Moses Moody's man in the right corner has to then help off of Moody and come and stop the drive of Pods. Otherwise, Pods might get to the rim for either a layup or maybe he throws the lob to Al Horford or to whoever, GP2 if he's hanging out in the dunker spot, whoever it is. You have to come over and cut off that drive for fear of giving up an easy 2 in the paint. So then what happens when whoever it is helping off of Moody? Podziemski then makes the pass to Moody in the right corner. And maybe Moody is open enough that he takes that shot, but likely what happens is then some other defender on, maybe near the top of the key sees this all playing out and has to then leave his man up top and go replace the defender that helped off of Moody in the quarter to stop Podziemski's drive, and now he's the one that has to rotate and cover Moses Moody because he's been shooting the cover off the ball. We don't want him to get an open look from 3. And then what happens after that is Moody, with him getting covered up because of that rotating defender, he then kicks to the top of the key for Al Horford. Al Horford then gets covered by another rotating defender, and Al passes to the left corner, wide open Guy Santos, and he takes the 3, and he hits it. That's how it worked tonight a lot of the times. And the names I'm throwing out don't really matter all that much. It's just There's just names coming to mind. I'm not like recalling a specific play from tonight, but that is the Warriors' general plan. Have somebody, whoever it is, it was Pat Spencer a lot tonight. It was even Al Horford doing it in the paint against a smaller guy, and the defense then collapses on him, and then he kicks it out. And the same thing happens. You have a rotating defense that's trying to cover various shooters along the perimeter. And eventually, you're going to get either an open look or a crazy aggressive closeout where you can, like Malachi Leons, gives the pump fake on a closeout in the left wing, and as his defender flies past him, he has an open lane to the bucket for a dunk. Okay? But why do the defenders have to jump out at these players? Because Moody has been hitting the three at a really high clip. Because Al Horford has been hitting the three at a really high clip. Because for the last month, Guy Santos has been hitting the three at a really high clip. So when you have shooters that the defense at least has to respect a little bit, you force the defense to just be on a dead sprint along the perimeter, and your bet, the Warriors' offense's bet, is I can pass the ball along the perimeter quicker than you can recover, and eventually I'm going to get an open look. And that's what the Warriors are betting on, and that's how it worked tonight. However, what happened, say, last night in New Orleans was you would create the initial advantage, right? Whether it was a Pods drive or often last night it was a Melton drive. A Melton drive, you, as Guy Santos says, would create, you would knock the first domino over. But in order for the dominoes to continue knocking each other over, you have to have shooters out there that the defense they have to feel like they need to respect them, right? And what happens when the ball gets eventually kicked to Draymond Green, say on the right wing, the defense doesn't react to him. They don't have to recover to him. So when the ball, or they have decided not to, they're going to take that risk, right? They're going to say, Draymond, I would rather leave you wide open for a right wing three than help off of Moses Moody. I'm going to stick on Moses because I would rather Draymond takes a three than Moses takes a three. And that's the right decision by a defense. So what happens when you create the advantage and the ball starts being swung around the perimeter, but one of the guys in your chain of passes along the perimeter does not draw the attention of the defense, your advantage vanishes and it's gone. And it's gone. So the decision for Draymond is then either take the open three or pass to somebody covered, or at least not as open as he is, or try to dribble yourself and go into the paint. And far too often, either Draymond doesn't want to take the three or misses the three. And that's kind of the reality of what happens at times when the Warriors have Draymond on the floor. Now, it changes when Steph is out there because Steph is just a cheat code and he affects everybody out there. Like if you have Steph and Moody and Al Horford in addition to Draymond on the floor, that makes things more difficult. That's where Draymond, I think, proves his worth the most when you have him out there with shooters. Part of what the issue was last night was you didn't have Steph, obviously, but you also didn't have Al Horford. And without Al Horford and without Quentin Post making shots last night, you don't have bigs that are making the defenses pay. And what more is Draymond to do at that point? So I do think there is a conversation we can have about Draymond, his impact on the Warriors offensively, specifically when Steph does not play. And the last two nights are great examples of it. We could go back again to Denver on Sunday, and we can go back to a number of games of late because Steph has been out, and the Warriors offense, frankly, has looked a whole lot better without Draymond than with Draymond. So we can talk about that, I think, going forward as well. We can also talk more about that on the other side. This is Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. The Dubs dominate the Grizzlies tonight, 133-112. We got a whole lot more to get to. We're going to talk about this team effort, plus time for your calls and your texts at 888-957-9570. Plus, we will hear from Steve Kerr and more to wrap this one up, as well as the Dubs beat the Grizzlies once again, 133-112. Mark Randy with you. More Warriors Wrap-Up next on 95.7 The Game.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I am grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill to see the full selection of Thermador appliances. Thermador provides a range of possibilities, from refrigeration to dishwashers or cooking with steam or convection. Come into Friedman's Appliance, and right now, you can receive up to 3 complimentary gifts with qualifying purchase. See all Thermador appliances displayed beautifully in live working vignettes at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill and at friedmansappliance.com.
All right, I need avocados, bananas, salad, steak.
Wow, does your grocery list have multiple pages?
No, but I skipped lunch, so now it's like my stomach is doing the grocery shopping. And besides, I'm earning cash back with Upside.
Upside? What's that?
Hold up, you haven't heard of it? Upside is a free app that gets you cash back when you shop at gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants. And they added Lucky and Food Max stores, so we're pretty much covered wherever we go.
All those stores?
Yep, so not only are we getting a great deal on groceries, now we can earn cash back as well.
Okay, downloading Upside. Now let me copy your grocery list.
Great news! Lucky and Food Max are now on Upside. Download the Upside app and use the promo code SAVE9 to earn a 10% cashback bonus on your first grocery purchase. That's promo code SAVE9 for a 10% cashback bonus. Use promo code SAVE9.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Now it's time for the closer of the week. Presented by LiftMaster and R&S Doors. Turn your garage into the envy of the neighborhood. Visit rsdoors.com.
This week's closer comes from Tyler from San Francisco. Alejandro and Salvador came to fix our gate, and they were 10 out of 10. They fixed our issue super fast and were awesome to deal with.
Recently, my garage door opener was not working. I was in need of a closer. I was put in touch with R&S Doors, and they hooked me up with a brand new garage door opener from LiftMaster. With LiftMaster's MyQ connectivity, my garage door opener can be controlled right from my smartphone. You'll know when a door or gate has been left open and can close it with a tap, no matter where I am. Be one of the first 10 callers and receive 20% off a LiftMaster garage door opener.
Call 1-800-FIX-A-DOOR. That's 800-FIX-A-DOOR. Or visit rsdoors.com. R&S Doors. Look for the red truck.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be 1,000,000 miles away. Tremfya, guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
Ball fake by Wells. Gets it. Now it's turnover. Payton to steal. Payton flies in. Over the head dunk. 61-39. Warriors timeout Memphis.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Tonight's one of those nights where our guys behind the glass, shout out to Steven Pasta Risotto running his first Warrior game. He's going to be filling in for our Warriors producer, Cam Williams, on Saturday. So today was a practice run. And as far as I know, it was flawless. Went off without a hitch. So good job, Cam. Great teacher. Good job, Pasta, as well. Tonight, though, is a night where if you are the Cam Williams of the night, as Pasta was, or you have, like, so many good highlights to choose from. And any highlight you play, I'm going to be like, wow, great decision using that one, because how good was GP2 tonight? You could have played a highlight for Will Richard, for Pajemski, for Guy, for Moses, for Pat, for Post, for Malachi Leons, right? I don't know who I didn't mention, for Al, and I would have been like, yeah, nod my head. Yeah, they had a hell of a game. So it was one of those kinds of nights for the Warriors. 133 points, yet only one player scored 20 or more. I don't know how often that happens in the NBA these days. The Warriors' highest score was 21 points, and they scored 133. Like, it's pretty rare that you have a game where a single player for your team doesn't score like 25 points. It is kind of what has to happen for the Warriors when you're down Steph and Jimmy. And also tonight specifically without Melton. Melton was the leading scorer last night, and he scored, I think it was 28. Yeah, 28 points last night for Melton. So you're down those guys who are, I think if you were to just magically like snap your fingers and make the Warriors fully healthy, you would probably say their three best scorers are Curry, Butler, and Melton, probably in that order. And if you somehow got a magically healthy Porzingis and he was playing like upwards of 25 minutes a night, you might say he's their fourth best scorer. Moody is making a case to move into that group, I think. But you're down like all of your 3-4 best players, whatever number you want to settle on. The way to win basketball games is to have a balanced attack, and that's what it was for the Warriors tonight. 21 for Richard, 19 for both GP2 and Pods, 17 for Guy, 14 for Moses, 12 for both Pat Spencer and Quentin Post, 10 for Al Horford, and then 9 for Malachi Leons, who had his first like major run, 18 minutes tonight, hit a 3, had 8 boards, and scored those 9 points. The only bad thing that really happened for the Warriors offensively today was Leons missed 2 free throws in the final couple of minutes, which would have put him into double digits. And all 9 players that played for the Warriors, which was the entire roster available to Steve Kerr tonight, all 9 would have scored double digits. The only bad thing that happened was those 2 missed free throws. But anyway, we move on. The Warriors ultimately win this game 133-112. A lot to be happy about. Bottom line is you just got to get a win. You have to win this basketball game. You're down Steph, you're down Jimmy, you're down Dre, you're down Melton, you're down Porzingis, but you're playing a team that is actively trying to lose. Like I had someone come at me on Twitter today because I said the Warriors dominated the Grizzlies. Like what I often do is I'll send out a little promotional tweet saying, final score, Warriors win, yada, yada, yada. What happened? A quick recap. And then I say, make sure to listen to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game coming up next. And someone responded to me, someone tell Grandy that the Grizzlies are trying to lose. Like, yeah, I get it. But we're not in a position anymore where the Warriors grade themselves on how many points they win by. They grade themselves by, did you beat a team that you should beat? Last night it didn't happen. Tonight it did. So they took care of business. And it's a back-to-back. I don't think there's any such thing as an easy back-to-back. This might be on the easier end of back-to-backs, but it's not easy. And you're down all your best players. Like, I threw out the Grizzlies lineup tonight. Jalen Wells, Ty Jerome, Javon Small, G.G. Jackson, and Olivier Maxence Prosper. Okay, Warrior fans definitely know who Ty Jerome is, probably mostly because he's the name that Warrior fans will throw out when they say, well, what Warrior did the front office move on from that's blossomed somewhere else? And one of the more common names people will say is Ty Jerome, and that's fair. He's kind of built himself up into a pretty good NBA player after kind of debuting. Really, his first major role was with the Warriors a number of years ago. But other than that, I mean, you know who G.G. Jackson is, I would imagine. He's had some big games against the Warriors in the past. Jalen Wells, Sacramento kid, went to Sonoma State. Maybe that's why you know that name. He also was really good last year as a rookie, made the All-NBA rookie team. He was really good last year. Hasn't been as good so far this year, but you probably recognize that name. You might have heard Olivier Maxence Prosper because it's a hard name to forget if you have heard it. But Javon Small, the point is that's not a good Grizzlies lineup. But you also look at the Warriors side of things. How many NBA fans across the league know who Guy Santos is? How many NBA fans across the league know how good Will Richard has been as a rookie? People know who Podziemski is. Of course, they know who Al Horford is. They know who Moses Moody is. But it's not as if the Warriors and who the players they were playing out there tonight just absolutely dwarf the Grizzlies in terms of talent. Like, the Grizzlies, not a good basketball team, and I'm not saying that it was a fair fight or that the Warriors were even underdogs in this game. Of course not. But it's not as if this was a game where the Warriors just simply out-talented the Grizzlies by a mile and they leaned on that to win this basketball game. No, they just won this basketball game because they played better. And the Grizzlies are not trying to win. Yes, I know that. They are tanking. I still stand by the Pelicans are not tanking, by the way. They don't own their first-round pick. You have to own your first-round pick to tank because the definition of tanking is losing on purpose to improve your draft standing, and they don't have draft standing. First-round draft standing, and who cares about your second-round draft standing? That's not how this works. The Grizzlies, though, they are tanking. They have, along with OKC, like all of the first-round picks the next 6 years. They are tanking, and you got to win this game, and they won it. And they dominated. They won by as many as 32 points. And they led by as many as 32, and they win by 21, 133 to 112. Okay, let's hear from Steve Kerr, and we got more to talk about with this game. I want to shout out Podziemski, I think, for something that he does that deserves a lot of credit. If you want to weigh in on anything we've talked about, including Draymond Green, I do also want to bring up, I think, maybe an adjustment that Steve Kerr can make as it relates to Draymond Green. We'll get to that coming up as well. First, though, Steve Kerr addressed the media postgame in Memphis after the Warriors dominated 133-112. They will return home and get ready for the Lakers at Chase Center on Saturday evening. Before that, though, of course, here's Steve Kerr postgame tonight in Memphis.
All right, what did you like most about the offense tonight? I mean,
just the way the ball moved. Spread the floor. We really played through the post quite a bit. Al was fantastic. Went to him early to establish the post, and he created a lot of advantages for us. And then they started doubling him, and we were able to move the ball really well. 37 assists, and just a really good night for everybody who stepped on the floor. Missing so many guys. I thought Malphite was awesome. Just the energy, defending without fouling, creating some problems for them at the defensive end of the floor, and then making some nice plays on offense too. It was fun to watch him play.
It seemed like pace pretty purposeful from the jump. Just what kind of tone did that pace in the first quarter set the rest of the game?
Yeah, it was important to this team really should have beaten us a couple weeks ago. We got lucky to beat them at home. They played really well with basically the same group, missing a bunch of guys, and I think that game woke us up a little bit. I thought our spirit was right from the start, and that pace that you mentioned was a big part of that.
Brandon, you've spoken a lot this season about the balance between playing on ball and playing off ball. Another statistically big game for him. What have you seen from him trying to strike that balance?
Brandon's been great. Just the totality of his game, what he does on the glass, handling the ball, playing off the ball. We're trying to find that balance. I mean, he still at times gets himself in trouble, but it's also, he's a young player who has the ability to do a lot, and he's trying to do a lot. So it's all with great intentions. It's just, finding that balance, like you said, and I think he's doing a good job of that.
And you got down to about 12 in the third quarter. He comes in and he scores or helps you guys score 6 in a row real quick, call timeout. Could you have imagined Guy developing like he has this year? I mean, last year it seemed like he could barely dribble or do
right.
And this year, he's hitting pull-up threes.
He's taken another step this year. Guy has. Last year he was a very important role player for us. Number one on the team in plus minus. After the Jimmy trade, he really solidified that role. And but now he's become more on ball as a creator, post-up guy. The step-through move that you saw, which was incredible. And he has the ability to play point guard when the other team is pressuring us. He's really a versatile player, somebody we really value.
Tonight and Sunday against Denver, is that proof of concept that, hey, pace, ball movement, that's the way you guys can compete and win games out?
Yeah, and the ball needs to go in. I mean, we made, I think, 21 threes against Denver, 19 tonight. Last night the shots didn't go in, we lost. But the process did feel better in both the Denver game and tonight in terms of creating advantages and ball movement and rhythm. That's the formula for sure, and we've got to continue to plug away. I'm really enjoying coaching these guys. They've been great. Just the energy, the enthusiasm, supporting each other. It's a really fun group.
All right, that's Steve Kerr post-game, and I believe that was Sam Gordon of the Chronicle who asked that question there at the very end. I think that the phrase that he used was tonight and the Denver game, proof of concept that this, ball movement, quick decision-making, and shooting a lot of threes, frankly, proof of concept that style is the way that you can win these kinds of basketball games. And Steve Kerr essentially said, and kind of signified that it wasn't all terrible last night, but some shots just didn't go, but that he felt the process was also better in the Denver game and the game tonight than it was last night. And I don't mean to continue harping on it, but one of the constants in terms of who was not playing in the two games that Steve Kerr is referencing as the really good process, and who played in the one that Steve Kerr referenced as not as good of a process, is Draymond Green. And it's not. This is where I think things get a little interesting, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Draymond Green is not a positive player and can't help the Warriors. I do think if the Warriors are deciding that the best way for them to win basketball games is to do what happened tonight, in my opinion, that style of offense does not fit Draymond's skill set, because eventually it gets to a point where the ball is swung to him and he has to take an open three. And he hasn't either shown a willingness to do that often enough or make it at a high enough clip. Why it works tonight, I think, frankly, quite often, and why it worked on Sunday versus the Nuggets is because the players that the Warriors were swinging the ball to have a ton of confidence shooting the basketball right now. I don't think Moses Moody's confidence has ever been higher. I don't think Guy Santos, I know for a fact Guy Santos' confidence has never been higher. Al Horford, probably his confidence has been higher at some point because he's a really, really good player and has been for a long time. But he's playing as good as he's played all season. That's a fact, and it's not particularly close. GP2, he would probably answer that this is the best his shot has felt in a bit of time as well. And for some of the others, I think that's also true. It's not true for Quentin Post, probably not true for Podziemski, although he's been playing a whole lot better of late. That fourth quarter in Denver was kind of an anomaly, but he's doing a lot of good things. And the Warriors have been talking to him about, I think, decision-making and process and when he's shooting shots and how to determine what's the right shot to take and all that. And I think we've seen some progress in that regard. But I do think there is a difference in who is catching a pass in a position of strength when you have an advantage along the perimeter. And if one of those guys is Moses Moody, you're going to take that shot. And more often than not, he's been making that shot. But if it's Draymond Green, you have to either decide to make that shot, decide to take it and make it, or waste an advantage that was created by, say, a D'Anthony Melton drive or whatever the situation is. So, but again, if that is the Warriors' strategy that they're going to employ, perhaps specifically when Steph Curry isn't playing, I don't think that really fits Draymond's skill set. What fits Draymond's skill set more often in my mind is what the second half was last night, which was a little less about just searching for an open three to make and more of a concerted effort to get into the paint. And like they did with Al Horford early in the game today, not necessarily post him up every trip down, but run the initial set through Al Horford and post up Al on the left or right block or on the right or left elbow or anywhere in that general vicinity and pass it into him and then run cutters off of him, run your split action and let him be the passer. Let him be the initiator that sets up the advantage that then leads to the passes elsewhere or that directly leads to a bucket. And they did not do that in the first half with Draymond last night. They did it in the second half with Draymond last night, and that's when their offense worked. They scored just 39 points in the first half last night. They scored 70 in the second half last night. Like, it's not as if the offense was terrible the entire game last night. They scored 70 second half points last night, and still they only made 11 threes in the entire game. Like, clearly something clicked in the second half last night despite them not making a ton of threes, and I think it was because they generally changed the strategy with which they initiated their offense in a way that best fit Draymond's skills. That was not what was happening in the first half. But I also think it was a little different last night because there's no Al Horford and there's no Steph Curry. You don't have a lot of shooters. And when you're playing Draymond without a spacing five out there, it becomes a whole lot more difficult. But tonight, without Draymond, the ball did move really quick. The Warriors seemed fast. What stood out to me was that Sunday game against the Nuggets. They were lapping the field. They were running circles around the Nuggets in that game. And part of it is, I think, the decision-making and the process is just really, really, really quick. It's immediate. The decisions the Warriors are making when they get in those spots where they have an advantage off of a Melton drive or a Spencer drive or a Pajemski drive or the Horford post-up, and they run a back screen and they have an advantage, the decisions that they're making with the ball in their hands in those moments are split second. It's Moses catching, passing to Horford. It's Horford catching and shooting immediately. Or it's Horford catching and shooting or catching and passing to Guy in the corner. And then Guy, decision-making, split second, pump fake, drive-by, layup. Like whatever it is, it's happening in an instant. And what has happened at times when Draymond is the decision-maker along the perimeter, he hesitates for a moment because he doesn't want to shoot that three, but he kind of has to shoot that three. And that hesitation kind of ruins the whole flow at times of that possession. And that, I think, is what the Warriors are running into overall. I am really glad, though, that Steve Kerr brought up, actually, I think it might have been a question from Joseph Dykes, I believe, who covers the Warriors, I believe, for the Merc down in the South Bay. A moment in the third quarter, because this was, for my money, the most important moment of this game. So the Warriors, it was kind of nip and tuck for the first quarter, a little more than that. And then the Warriors opened the second quarter on a 29-8 burst. It was a 13-0 run at one point in there as well. They led at that point by 24 with about 4 to go in the second quarter. And the lead kind of hung out there for a while. But then in the second half, the Grizzlies opened the third quarter on a 17-8 run. They got back within 12 with about 5.5 to play in the third. And the Warriors, led by Guy Santos, immediately flipped the script. It was a 6-0 Warrior run right after that 17-8 start by Memphis. Guy, cutting layup, Will Richard assist. Guy, a steal, leads to a GP2 fast break layup. And then Memphis called a timeout after those 4 points in like 20 seconds. And the next Warriors possession was a Guy cutting layup on a GP2 assist, 6-0 Warrior run, all thanks to Guy Santos. Lead goes right back up to 18 in the blink of an eye. It ultimately turned into a 12-2 run, the lead back up to 22, and from there on out, the game was basically over. But the game was hanging there for that moment after that 17-8 Memphis start in the second half. The lead's down to 12. You can kind of feel, I know the building isn't that aggressively loud in Memphis right now because they are a bad team and they're trying to lose, but you kind of feel the momentum shifting a little bit. And then Guy Santos, not a personal 6-0 run, but 4 points and the steal that led to the other points. That 6-0 run was thanks to Guy Santos, and Guy Santos was the guy that turned that around, that took the momentum away from Memphis and kind of captured it back on the Warriors' side, and then they used that to ultimately win this basketball game by 21 points. But that moment, that minute stretch in the third quarter, led by Guy Santos, was one of the most important moments of this game, and I think Guy deserves a ton of credit for that as well. But it really was a team effort for the Warriors in this one. Again, they win 133-112. I also want to shout out Podziemski. Steve Kerr was asked about Brandon as well in this one, and I know that Podziemski's relationship with Warrior fans is perhaps a strange one. The Warrior fans are not the fondest of Brandon Podziemski, at least the Warrior fans that I interact with on a regular basis, whether it's here on Warriors Wrap Up or it's on Twitter or it's, hell, sometimes even at Chase Center. There is a weird relationship that Warrior fans have with Podziemski, and maybe it's because of the high expectations he has for himself. Maybe it's because of what he represents. Maybe it's because of his relationship with Steve versus, say, Kuminga's relationship with Steve. I don't know the exact reason. It's probably some of all of the above. I do think, though, that Podziemski deserves a lot of credit for a lot of the small things that he does. I mean, last two games before tonight had 30 rebounds, 15 in both those games, was flirting with a triple-double tonight, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. There's one thing, though, that I think kind of gets lost, and it shows up in the box score as an assist, but it's worth so much more than a single assist. One thing that he does better than anybody else on the Warriors, maybe other than Steph, is, and maybe not even Steph anymore, because Steph is about to be 38 in a couple of weeks, a little more than 2 weeks from now. Steph is 38, and Draymond's got a birthday coming up, and we know Jimmy, before he was hurt, he's up there in age. And, of course, Al doesn't do this. Now that Kuminga's out, you don't have this crazy athlete that can just beat everybody down the floor. This has happened a number of times this year and throughout Podziemski's entire career, but it happened tonight, and it just stuck out to me like a sore thumb. What Podziemski does better than maybe anybody else on the Warriors is he just pushes the ball in transition relentlessly. And sometimes it doesn't result in anything. Sometimes he'll just push the ball down the floor, and nothing will present itself. And what he should do, and what he generally does, maybe he gets himself into trouble here and there, but what he generally does is, if that's the case, he pushes and nothing develops, no advantage presents itself, he'll then just dribble out back towards, the top of the key and begin the offensive set. But in the moments where something does develop, he is giving the Warriors easy points just by his energy, his hustle, and his willingness to push the ball down the floor. So there was a moment where the Grizzlies missed a shot. I think it was Al. Al got the defensive rebound, and he passed quickly the outlet to Podziemski, and Podziemski, kind of all in one motion, catches the outlet pass and beats everybody else down the floor. Everybody else with the ball in his hands. He's moving faster than everybody else. And he doesn't get to the bucket himself, but what happens is kind of like what we're talking about with Guy and knocking the first domino over, beginning the domino effect. What has to happen is the defense has to collapse on him, and they're all racing back, and they're like, oh no, we got to stop the ball because this guy's running like he's a chicken with his head cut off. He's going to get to the rim if we don't react and stop him. So they react, they stop him, they cut off his lane to the hoop. But then what happens is that defense was so worried about stopping Podziemski, they don't match up with anybody else on the Warriors coming down the floor. And Al, because he's a savvy vet, just got the defensive rebound. He's trailing the play. He stops at the three-point line. Podziemski turns and finds him, and Al is wide open. I mean, nobody within 7 feet of him, and he hits an open three off of Podziemski's assist. That just goes in the box score as an assist for Podziemski, but it is an assist and a 3-point assist that is created solely because of Podziemski's willingness to push the ball. And that is something that he does really, really well. And when Steve Kerr talks about a lot of the small things that Podziemski does, like that is one of them. That is one of them. And not all assists are created equal. I know that Willard and Dibbs today were talking on their show about how not all rebounds are created equal. And some of the rebounds that Podziemski gets credited with maybe aren't like, your classic, he just out-jumped 2 dudes and put his body on the line and boxed out a 7-footer and earned that board. Like, of course, not all rebounds are created equal, and maybe Podziemski just benefits from a couple falling in his lap. But you know what? More often than not, when you put in the effort, basketball rewards you. And that's what happened in this moment as well, where he just pushes the tempo, he's out hustling others, and he's creating open looks for really good shooters. That look does not happen if Podziemski just catches the outlet pass from Al and walks the ball up the floor. It does not happen. It is only happening because of the pressure Podziemski's putting on the defense, just simply by going 100 miles an hour up the floor. And so I wanted to shout out Podziemski for that, because I think a lot of the smaller things that Podziemski does gets not ignored, but it goes under the radar because there's this, and a lot of this is because of Podziemski himself, and frankly because of what the organization has said about him. The standard is so incredibly high that if he's not scoring 25 points a night and making 40% of his threes and shooting 50% from the field, it feels like he's not living up to his expectations. And again, some of that, a big chunk of it, is the way that he talks about himself, which is, I think, partially why the relationship with the fan base is kind of strained. But as a result of those expectations, a lot of the small things that he does, I think, do go kind of under the radar. And that is one of them. That's a free 3 points created by, Al making the shot, but Al doesn't get the shot if Podziemski doesn't create it in the first place. So we'll see where it goes from here. But I thought Podziemski was really good today, and as Steve Kerr said postgame, he's having a much better stretch of play of late. That game against Denver, I think, definitely qualifies for it as well. All right. Warriors win this game 133-112. Let's take a look at the scores from around the NBA before we get on out of here tonight. I've got ESPN on right now. Boston and Denver in Denver doing battle. It's a 1-point lead for the Celtics just out of halftime in the third quarter at the Mile High City. Warrior fans probably don't really matter. It doesn't really matter who wins this game. Warriors are not going to catch the Nuggets. You're probably just rooting for the Celtics for the hell of rooting against anybody in the Western Conference, but not going to impact the Warriors in terms of their standing or who they're going to play in all likelihood in the first round of the playoffs if they get that far. Elsewhere in the NBA, I mentioned the Spurs. They just won their 10th game in a row. They beat the Raptors in a close game in Toronto. The Kings lost once again, although they actually did just win the other day against this same Memphis team that the Warriors just beat. Do have a little bit of breaking news actually out of Denver. Jamal Murray has just been ruled out for the rest of the game. I don't know exactly what happened to Jamal Murray, but he has been ruled out. We'll keep an eye on that, of course. That could have a big impact if it is more than just a single game thing for Jamal Murray in the Western Conference. But the Rockets beat the Kings. The Bucks beat the Cavs. No James Harden, who has a broken bone in his hand. The Warriors, of course, beat the Grizzlies. The Spurs beat the Raptors. The Pistons beat the Thunder. Pistons, man, they are looking like the real deal in the East. They beat the Thunder. Thunder, of course, pretty injured at this moment as well, but not a lot around the Warriors in the West right now. The Suns did not play. The Blazers did not play. The Clippers did not play. The Lakers did not play either. And speaking of the Lakers, that is the Warriors' next opponent. Warriors versus Lakers on Saturday from Chase Center. 5:30 is the tip time, which means our coverage here on 95.7 The Game begins at 4:30. I'll have you covered for that one, 4:30 right here on 95.7 The Game for Warriors Live. And then after that, the Warriors host the other LA team, the Clippers, coming up on Monday at 7 o'clock. Both those games here in San Francisco. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Steiny. Yeah. Both LA teams, Lakers and then Clippers, Saturday and then Monday here at Chase Center. All right. That's going to do it for Warriors Wrap-Up tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, a shout-out to Steven Risotto, a.k.a. Pasta Behind the Glass, running his first Warrior game tonight. Special thanks as well to Cam Williams for being a great teacher. Steven will be running the game coming up on Saturday as well. So if you listen, just know that it's a Steven on the ones and twos. I'll be talking to you coming up on Saturday. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Randy signing off. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and we'll talk next time right here on 95.7 The Game.
Is that this has become it's so far afield from, you know what, we want people owning teams, and we want to provide an entertainment that cities get behind and fans love because of the sport. And now it's become all about how much money can we generate off this thing called basketball. And so now it just becomes sort of a bottom line business. And people aren't focused on, what's the integrity of the game and how do we maintain certain standards when it comes to the game. It's like, how are we going to make the most money? And so, you don't have, and this is something I'm actually going to talk about in my podcast this week, because if it was really about the integrity and competitive balance, then the league would be cracking down on tampering with other players, players on other teams. And it would do something about star players forcing trades. And there's nothing done about those. But, oh, wait a minute, our gambling partner is upset because the teams that can't acquire star players through free agency, they're tanking in order to get a better place in the draft because that's the only way they can get star players. Now that's an issue. Why? Not because the league has an issue with it. It's because the gambling outfits have an issue with it, and they're in bed now with the gambling companies.
Fox Sports Radio, Jason Smith Show with Mike Harmon. Coachable. That's the book coming out in May. Order it now on Amazon. It's our guy, Rick Bucher, FS1. At Rick Bucher is where you find him, as well in the Twitterverse, all the latest and greatest he's got popping. So, Rick, the Lakers now down to the 6th seed. The pesky Phoenix Suns closing quickly here. And yesterday at 4-4, their last 8, and Luka passing up on a shot. LeBron saying, hey, he put me in a bad, you'll have to ask him. And now a lot of Spider-Man meme finger pointing.
Yep. Well, look, they came out of the gate strong, but if you can't defend and they're just not a good defensive team, that's eventually going to catch up with you. And we had some teams in the Western Conference that we weren't. Minnesota started off very poorly. San Antonio didn't catch fire right away. There's a number of teams that we expected to be at the top who have simply reasserted themselves. And I would say that the Phoenix Suns have been much better than we expected. They're breathing down the Lakers' collective necks. And so, I think this is basically about where I expected them to be at the beginning of the season. Well, I forecast that they would be on this, trying to fight their way or keep their spot in the 6th seed, but I never thought that they were going to be at the top. And this is the point where you start to see everybody play their absolute best basketball. A case could be made that we've already seen the Lakers play their best basketball.
He's on Twitter at Rick Bucher. That is at Rick Bucher. Check out door opened. All of a sudden, there it was.
No Knicks. Oh, man. Okay.
And then the door opened. It's like, wait, I've got a reason to bring up Jalen Brunson. Like, no!
And that's going to be a thing where as you get closer to the MVP, with it being this type of year where, hey, look at these guys who are not going to be eligible, really the number one thing is, hey, okay, he's got enough games. He's got to be in the top, right? When you get down to the end, I would be surprised. As long as the Knicks, and look, when you get to this point in the season, you are who you are. I would be surprised if at this point, when it comes down to everybody that's eligible, that the final three, Jalen Brunson's not going to be it. The final three is not going to be Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, and Cade Cunningham. That's going to be your final three for MVP. Ooh, there you go.
Still got your guy Wemby, though.
Yeah.
Still kind of circling.
And the game.
I saw an article that's comparing him to Ralph Sampson.
And the game.
I didn't click on it because I'm not going to give him the satisfaction.
Time now to find out what's trending in the wide world of sports from someone who's been called the Ralph Sampson of Fox Sports Radio. Because she's been to Houston, it's Monty Bolaños.
I've been to Houston. Can you remind me how my trip went?
It was hot.
It was good. Very humid. Very humid. Very, very humid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You landed on the plane, and you heard a trash can being hit.
And then I thought they were
loud.
cheating again?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Then you got back on the plane, and you left.
And then I left.
Yeah.
What a quick trip I had.
I was in Houston. I was in Houston for 3 days, like 10 years ago, and then for like a day and a half, like 25 years ago. The best thing I could tell you, what I remember, first place ever went to Quiznos.
Okay.
Yeah, to Quiznos for the first time in Houston.
Those are my favorite ads ever.
Yeah.
That little rat or whatever that thing was.
My problem with Quiznos here, every time I walked into one, it's with a built-in Baskin Robbins. Am I crazy? Or it was like together, like ice cream and sandwiches. And I was like, I don't know what to smell. I don't know what's good.
It's like the
Is it the waffle cone or is it the damn sandwich?
Yeah. It's like the KFC Taco Bells. Yeah, I'm going to get chicken. I'm going to get a taco.
I'm going to get both. That one I'm not as mad about. I was more annoyed about the Quiznos and the ice cream. Pizza and Taco Bell or anything like that, I don't call me crazy. I'm into it. We've got one game going on in the NBA, fellas. And it's a close one. A little defense being played in this one. The Celtics do lead the Nuggets right now, 58-57. They're halfway through the third quarter. Nikola Jokic, he's got 20 points and 6 rebounds. Derek White for Boston, he's got 18 points. But right now, the best team in the NBA, it's the Detroit. I was waiting for Alex to be like, Cleveland! It's the Detroit Pistons. They beat the Thunder 124-116. Detroit right now, their record 43-14. OKC's record 45-15. Cade Cunningham, 29 points, 13 assists, and 3 steals in today's win. The Spurs keep on rolling. They've won 10 in a row. They held on to defeat the Raptors in Toronto 110-107. The Bucks also held on to defeat the Cavaliers 118-116. It was a short-handed Cleveland team on the court today, but Kevin Porter Jr. did hit the game winner for the Bucks and ended with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Alperen Şengün with a triple-double as the Rockets just rocked the Kings 128-97. In men's college hoops, it was not a pretty game for number 15 St. John's. Their 13 games winning streak was snapped as UConn crushed them 72-40. The Red Storm struggled from the field, shot about 20%, literally only 11 field goals. They were held without a field goal for the final 17 minutes of the second half. In college football, Cincinnati has sued former quarterback Brendan Sorsby in a federal court, alleging he breached his NIL contract with the Bearcats when he refused to pay $1 million as an exit fee because he transferred to Texas Tech. So they're suing him for $1 million.
Oh, sure. This is college football.
This is college football. In NFL,
where's that money? I don't have it. I don't know where it is.
No sé. ESPN reports that Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey wants to be the highest paid kicker in the NFL with a salary averaging about $10 million. They also report that teams have shown interest in acquiring Panthers backup quarterback Andy Dalton. And in baseball, yes, in case you missed it, the Yankees are retiring another number. It will be the 24th number that the Yankees retired. This one is going to be CeCe Sabathia's number 52. They're going to add a plaque at Monument Park on September 26th. Diamondbacks pitcher Merrill Kelly, he's going to miss opening day with a back injury, and there is no timetable for his return. In the NHL, as it came back from the winter break of the Olympic winter whatever happened. Avalanche are up on the Mammoth right now, 4-2 with 5 minutes to go in the third period. After 2 periods, Jets and Canucks are tied at 2. Late in the second period, Golden Knights and the Kings are tied at 1. Early in the second period, the Oilers and the Ducks are tied at 2. Back to you.
Thanks a bunch, Mossy.
Jess.
Jason Smith, Mike Harmon, live from the Fox Sports Radio studios. Coming up next, we have a great NFL story for you from today. We've been full of fire tonight. After I heard this today, it cemented. Everybody involved with this team that helped make this decision should be fired.
Oh.
Got that next right here. Jason and Mike, Fox Sports Radio.
Big time, bro. Big time.
We got big takes.
Canada hates us. We have officially stolen hockey from Canada.
Why are you coaching conservative? Your team sucks.
Just put your name on it. You don't trust Tom Brady.
I told you.
Anthony Davis is an empty calorie.
Unpopular opinion.
Rivalries are overrated.
We go big.
That's big, bro.
On Fox Sports Radio.
What goes better with a meal? Bacon. At Heartland Steak Co., they take their bacon seriously. From their double smoked hickory to their honey jalapeno, which brings sweet and spicy together for the perfect combination, to their all-new bacon flavors like whiskey peppercorn with its smoky richness, to their applewood double smoked bacon that's smoked over real applewood chips, to their all-new maple bourbon bacon, which brings out the subtle notes of maple and bourbon for a rich taste. Heartland Steak Co. has your bacon and USDA Midwestern beef ready to ship and delivered straight to your door. Don't wait. Order today for yourself, a friend, or anyone who loves that true Midwest taste. Ordering is easy at heartlandsteakco.com. And right now, when you spend $199.99 or more, you'll get free shipping plus 2 pounds of bacon with promo code BACON. Go and get your bacon from heartlandsteakco.com. That's heartlandsteakco.com. Promo code BACON. Taste the Heartland different.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-507-9701. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-507-9701. That's 800-507-9701. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Dreaming of the perfect kitchen? Make it a reality at Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill. Explore Bosch appliances in live working vignettes and see the innovation in action. During the Buy More, Save More event, you can get up to $4,000 in rebates on qualifying Bosch kitchen packages. From refrigerators with the Farm Fresh system to keep your food fresher longer, to dishwashers with precision wash technology that wipes out 99.9% of bacteria. Own the kitchen like a Bosch. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill or online at friedmansappliance.com today.
What makes Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water different? We always bottle our Alpine Spring Water less than 1.5 miles from the spring source, and all our bottles are made with 50% recycled plastic from our own recycling plants. Crystal Geyser, bottled at the spring source.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-894-7722. That's 800-894-7722. Again, 800-894-7722.
Excuse me, can you tell me where?
I don't know. Those big box stores, they don't know, but Dolan's knows. For over 60 years, Dolan's Lumber has been serving the Bay Area with the materials and the knowledge to make your next home improvement project stellar. Lumber, doors, windows, you name it. Dolan's knows exactly what you need. Anderson Windows and Doors are on sale at Dolan's. For a limited time, get 30% off installation. Call now for a quote. 800-9-DOLANS or visit DolanLumber.com.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Dan and the Danettes and you.
Weekdays 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific.
On Fox Sports Radio.
You listen at all hours of the day.
We're live and local in your eardrum.
Yeah. You even have your favorites.
I've always listened to the show.
Some of you even like to express your love through a tweet.
A tweet from Drew.
Or a call.
I think you guys do an incredible job. It's a great show. You guys do a good job. Y'all are killing it on Fox Sports Radio.
There are so many reasons why you listen to us. And for that, we say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the love you continue to show us. This is Fox Sports Radio. The most fearless voice in sports is on FS1. The one and only Colin Cowherd is bold, unique, and outspoken. Wow. You can see him on The Herd. Weekdays at noon Eastern on FS1 in the Fox Sports app.
Again, getting great news out of the NFL Combine. You had great news on quarterbacks yesterday. More big news on quarterbacks today, and this is where I come down on this story because it just keeps getting better and better. Today, Minnesota Vikings executive VP